Hi everyone, my name is Emily Carter. And before I begin, let me just say this. This isn't an ordinary story. It's the story of how love turned into betrayal, and how one night, on an empty road, I realized the man I married wasn't the man I thought he was. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the Masked Bonds, hit the like button, and comment below. Tell me where you're watching this from. Because tonight, I'm going to tell you how being left alone in the dark wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of his downfall. It was supposed to be just another argument. One of those long, exhausting nights where words turned into silence and silence turned into tears. But that night, it became something else. Something darker. The sky was painted black, and the only light came from the headlights cutting through the empty road. I sat beside Ryan, staring out the window, watching the trees blur into shadows. He hadn't said a single word in over an hour. The tension in that car was so thick, it felt like even the air had stopped moving. I tried to speak, to ask him what was wrong, to fix whatever was breaking between us, but the way his fingers gripped the steering wheel told me it was already too late. His jaw clenched, his eyes cold. That wasn't anger anymore. That was decision. When the car finally stopped, I looked around. No houses, no lights, just an endless stretch of deserted road under the pale moon. My stomach dropped. I whispered his name, Ryan? But he didn't look at me. He opened the door, stepped out, walked to my side, and said the words that would haunt me forever. You'll find your way home if you deserve one. Then, without another glance, he got back into the car and drove away, the red taillights fading into nothing, leaving me standing there barefoot on the cold asphalt. The silence after that was deafening. The night felt endless. My heart was pounding, not just from fear, but from realization. Because that was the moment I understood. The man I loved wasn't my partner anymore. He was my enemy, and the road he left me on would soon lead to his downfall. The cold bit into my skin like knives. The night air was heavy, silent, the kind of silence that screams in your ears. I stood there for a few seconds, too shocked to move, watching the faint red glow of Ryan's car disappear into the horizon until it was swallowed by the darkness. I shouted his name again and again, my voice cracking against the empty sky. Ryan, please come back. But there was no echo, no sign of him. Just the sound of the wind brushing through the trees, mocking me with its indifference. For a moment, I just stood there, numb. The asphalt beneath my feet was freezing, and my dress, the one he said made me look beautiful just a week ago, was now torn from the seatbelt that had caught on it. I looked down at myself and realized I had nothing. No phone, no bag, not even shoes. Just me and the darkness. When I finally started walking, it wasn't courage, it was survival. Each step felt like a fight against my own body. My mind was spinning. Why did he do this? I replayed the entire evening in my head. The dinner, the tension, the silence on the drive, trying to find the moment everything snapped. But there was no single moment. The truth was, Ryan had been slipping away from me for months. Late nights at work. Unexplained phone calls. A new password on his laptop. I noticed it all, but I chose to believe his excuses. Because that's what love does to you. It makes you blind in the name of hope. The road stretched endlessly, swallowed by the dark countryside. My legs ached, my throat burned, but I couldn't stop. Every few minutes, I thought I heard a car, only to realize it was just the wind or the rustling of leaves. After what felt like hours, I finally saw a faint light in the distance, small, flickering, like a candle in the fog. My heart jumped. I forced myself to move faster, stumbling forward until I reached it. "Are you all right, ma'am?" he asked, rushing from behind the counter. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. My husband left me." He grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around my shoulders. The warmth made me realize just how cold I truly was. He handed me a phone, and with shaking hands, I dialed a number I never thought I'd have to call, 911. When the officer arrived, I told him everything, or at least everything I could process. But when he asked if I wanted to call my husband, something inside me shifted. I looked at the phone, at my reflection in the glass door, and whispered, "No, I don't need him anymore." That road broke me. But in its silence, it also whispered a truth I'd been too scared to face, that the man I loved had already left me long before that night. And though I didn't know it yet, the woman who walked away from that gas station would never be the same again. When I finally made it home the next morning, the world felt different, quieter, heavier, almost like the house itself was holding its breath. I expected to find Ryan there, maybe waiting with some twisted excuse, maybe pretending nothing happened. But when I unlocked the door, silence greeted me. And then I saw it. The house wasn't just empty of him, it was stripped. Our wedding picture, the one that used to sit on the mantel, was gone. The drawers in our study were pulled out, half open, empty. The safe in our bedroom, wide open. My jewelry, our financial files gone. Even his suits, his shoes, nothing remained. It was like he'd packed up our life overnight and erased himself from it. I sank onto the floor, my hands shaking as the realization hit. He hadn't left me in anger. He'd planned it. Every argument, every moment of cold silence. It wasn't frustration, it was distance he was creating so he could leave without guilt. And worse, it wasn't just about leaving me. It was about taking everything. Later that day, I got a call from our company's accountant. He sounded nervous, hesitant. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "I'm sorry to disturb you, but there have been some irregular transfers from your joint accounts. Money moving into an account under Mr. Carter's name only." I froze. My stomach turned. "How long has this been happening?" I asked. He hesitated. "For nearly 3 months." 3 months. That was around the same time Ryan started staying out late. The same time the smiles started to fade, replaced by the half-hearted excuses and cold eyes. I pulled at my laptop, desperate to check the business files we both shared. Password changed. Access denied. Every shared document restricted. My chest tightened as I realized what he'd done. He wasn't just leaving me emotionally, he was erasing me legally, financially, and professionally. That's when I remembered something else, Sabrina. A former employee. She'd worked in the finance department before quitting suddenly 2 months ago. Ryan told me she was incompetent, but I remembered the way she used to look at him. Too long, too soft. My heart sank. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was calculated. He'd built a new life, a secret one, while dismantling ours piece by piece. That night, I sat in our empty living room, surrounded by nothing but silence and broken trust. My mind was racing, but my body was frozen. How could someone who promised forever turn into a stranger overnight? I scrolled through old photos on my phone, smiling vacations, anniversaries, the small candid moments that once felt real. But now, every smile in those pictures looked rehearsed. Especially his. That perfect, confident grin, the one that once made me feel safe, now looked like a mask. Behind that smile had been deception. Lies carefully hidden beneath affection. And as I stared at those pictures, something in me shifted. I realized I'd spent years loving a version of Ryan that never truly existed. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply whispered to myself, "You think you've won, Ryan, but this isn't over." Because the woman he thought he left broken on that road, she was gone. And the one that replaced her was ready to uncover every secret behind his smile and make him pay for each one. In the days that followed, my pain turned into purpose. I didn't recognize myself at first. The quiet, trembling woman who once begged her husband to come home had vanished. What remained was someone colder, steadier, someone who had stopped asking why and started asking how. How could he do this? How could I undo it? I realized very quickly that Ryan had spent years underestimating me. He saw my kindness as weakness, my loyalty as blindness. But he forgot that when a woman loses everything, she becomes dangerous, because she has nothing left to lose. I started with what he didn't expect. Silence. No screaming, no confrontation, no social media posts about heartbreak. I disappeared from everyone's sight, even from his. That was my advantage. Because men like Ryan only win when they know what you're doing next. I made sure he didn't. The morning after I discovered his betrayal, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Mark Henderson, a private investigator who used to be a friend from college. Mark was sharp, discreet, and most importantly, he didn't owe Ryan anything. When I told him what happened, he was silent for a moment, then said, "Emily, give me 3 days. I'll find him." 3 days later, he called me back, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "Your husband's not hiding," he said. "He's showing off. He's living in a downtown apartment under Sabrina's name. And that's not the worst part." He sent me photos. Ryan and Sabrina, hand in hand, driving the same car he left me on that deserted road in. The car I had paid for. But what truly broke me wasn't the affair. It was what came next. Mark dug deeper and found that Ryan had been transferring company funds into hidden accounts. Not just to live with her, but to build a business with her. My company. My money.
My sweat.
The rage I felt in that moment could have burned the entire world down. But I didn't let it. I contained it like fire and glass. Because I knew blind anger wouldn't destroy him. Patience would. So I crafted my plan. I started by sending him a message. Short, harmless, apologetic. "Ryan, I'm sorry for everything. I just want to talk." He replied hours later. "Glad you finally understand." That single message told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't afraid. He thought I was crawling back, weak, desperate for his love.
Perfect.
For weeks, I pretended to be that woman, the broken wife who missed him. I sent sweet texts, left voicemails, acted exactly how he wanted me to. And it worked. Slowly, he started talking more.
Boasting.
Bragging. He told me he was happy, that he'd moved on, that business was better without me. Every word was a dagger, but I smiled through it. Because I knew soon, those same words would be the rope that hung him. Ryan believed I was fragile, that I'd crumble under betrayal. But what he didn't know was that I was quietly collecting every piece of his deception. And soon, I would use it to build his downfall. It was a Friday night, cold, crisp, and eerily calm. The kind of night where the world seems to hold its breath before something big happens. I remember standing in front of the mirror, applying the same red lipstick Ryan once said he loved. My hands didn't shake this time. My heart didn't race from pain. It pulsed with purpose. That night wasn't about closure. It was about justice. After weeks of pretending to be the broken wife, I finally got what I wanted. A message from him. "Let's meet. Maybe we can talk things through." I smiled when I read it. Of course he wanted to meet. Ryan was predictable. Arrogance always leads men like him straight into their own traps. I chose the restaurant carefully, one we used to go to during our anniversaries. A quiet, elegant place tucked away from the city noise. I arrived early, dressed in the soft blue dress he once called his favorite. Every detail was calculated down to the scent of my perfume. I wanted him to feel comfortable, nostalgic, untouchable until he wasn't. When he walked in, I almost laughed. He looked exactly the same, polished, confident, wearing that smug smile that used to make me melt. Only now, I saw it for what it truly was. Manipulation disguised as charm. "Emily," he said, sliding into the chair across from me. "You look different." "I guess heartbreak changes people," I replied, keeping my voice steady. He chuckled like it was all some joke. "You were always too sensitive. You should have known how things would end." I forced a small laugh and lowered my eyes. Maybe I should have. The waiter poured wine, and as we drank, he talked about his new business, about Sabrina, about how much freer he felt now. Every sentence dripped with arrogance. He didn't know that the tiny recorder inside my purse was capturing every word. Then, as if he wanted to twist the knife deeper, he leaned forward and whispered, "You know, that night on the road, I didn't think you'd make it back. But you always were tougher than you looked." For a split second, the world stopped. I met his eyes, cold, soulless, and realized he wasn't even ashamed. He was proud of what he did. I smiled, hiding the storm behind my calm expression. "You're right, Ryan. I made it back. And I'll always be tougher than you think." He raised his glass. "To new beginnings." I raised mine. to endings that teach us lessons. He smirked, not realizing he'd just toasted to his own destruction. When the dinner ended, he hugged me like everything was normal. I let him, because I wanted that last piece of evidence, his fingerprints on the necklace I wore, the same one with a hidden camera pendant that had recorded his confession in perfect clarity. As he walked away, I didn't feel pain. I felt peace. Because that night, the woman he thought was weak didn't just come to dinner. She came for war. And by the next morning, every secret, every lie, and every cruel word would be in the hands of people who knew exactly what to do with them. 3 weeks after that dinner, the storm finally hit. I still remember waking up that morning. The air outside was calm, but there was something electric in it, something that whispered today is the day. I made myself coffee, sat by the window, and watched the sunrise with an odd sense of peace. It had been months since I'd felt that. I wasn't the same woman Ryan left on that deserted road, scared, helpless, and betrayed. I'd rebuilt myself from the ashes he left behind. And now it was time for him to watch everything burn. It started with a call from my lawyer, Clara Mitchell, a woman who believed revenge should always wear a suit and carry evidence. "Emily," she said, her voice steady but almost triumphant. "We're ready. The evidence you gave us, the recordings, the documents, the bank transfers, it's all enough. We're filing the case this morning." For a second, I just sat there, staring at my reflection in the black surface of my coffee. Then I smiled. "Do it," I said. By noon, the news began to spread. I didn't even have to lift a finger. The financial press caught wind first. Carter Industries under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Within hours, the story was everywhere. Ryan's perfect little empire started collapsing like a house built on sand. The money he'd hidden under Sabrina's name? Frozen. The new company he'd registered using my stolen assets?
Seized.
And that apartment he'd bought in her name? Under police lock. I saw a photo online later that day. Ryan leaving his office surrounded by reporters, his face pale, his once proud posture now slouched. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of his own lies was finally crushing him. By evening, I got another call, this time from Mark, the private investigator. His tone was satisfied. "He's been arrested," he said simply. "The authorities traced every illegal transaction. Sabrina's cooperating. She turned on him the moment they showed her the recordings." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My chest felt heavy, not from sadness, but from the strange mix of relief and disbelief that it was finally over. The man who left me on a lonely road, thinking I'd vanish quietly, was now trapped in a cage of his own making. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the same spot where I once cried over him. Only this time, there were no tears. Just quiet satisfaction. People often think revenge is loud, full of shouting, chaos, and anger. But real revenge? It's silent. It's elegant. It's when they don't even see it coming until everything they built starts crumbling beneath their feet. Ryan lost everything that day, his money, his reputation, his freedom. And as his name flashed across the evening news, I whispered to myself, "You see, Ryan? I found my way back just like you said I would." Only this time, I wasn't walking down that dark road alone. I was walking on the ashes of his lies, and every step forward was mine to take. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Because this story isn't just about revenge or justice, it's about survival. It's about finding yourself when someone tries to erase everything you are. When Ryan left me on that deserted road, I thought my life was over. I thought that was the moment I broke. But looking back now, I see it differently. That night didn't break me, it revealed me. Sometimes, life has a cruel way of showing you who people really are. The person you love, the one you trust, can suddenly become the one who destroys you. And when that happens, you have two choices. You either stay down or you rise so high that they can never reach you again. I chose to rise. And that's what I want every woman, every person listening to understand. Your strength doesn't come from what they did to you. It comes from what you decide to do after. When Ryan drove away that night, he didn't just leave me alone. He left me with something powerful, silence. And in that silence, I rebuilt my courage. step by step, piece by piece. I learned that sometimes revenge isn't about screaming or fighting back in anger. It's about being patient enough to let karma arrive and smart enough to help it find the right address. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It simply shows up when the time is right. I used to think love meant forgiveness at any cost. That if you just tried hard enough, you could save someone, even if they didn't want to be saved. But now I know love isn't about losing yourself to keep someone else. It's about recognizing when it's time to let go and when it's time to start over. I didn't destroy Ryan. He destroyed himself the moment he chose greed over loyalty, lies over love. All I did was show the world the truth he tried to hide. I want you to take your pain and turn it into power. Let it remind you of what you deserve and what you will never tolerate again. Don't chase closure from the one who broke you. Create it yourself. And when they finally realize what they lost, let your silence be the loudest answer. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't making them suffer, it's showing them you're thriving without them. So to everyone listening tonight, don't let betrayal define you. Let it refine you. And if you ever find yourself standing on a dark, lonely road, remember my story. Because that road isn't the end. It's just the beginning of your comeback. And trust me, there's nothing more powerful than a woman who rises from the ruins of her own heartbreak. If this story touched you, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories of love, betrayal, and strength.